So, this is actually really a kind of a cool case study. This actually is about a company that um, sells hats. We haven't really featured them much. I've been running their Google ads for some time, and now I took over their Meta. Normally, rather than going through and saying this is what we did and that's what we did and everything yada yada yada, all you have to know is that everything is looking 35% better since we've done this. Good. We have basically, more search, more email, more affiliate, more social, 50%, 7%, yada, yada, yada. Like everything is looking better. Conversion rates up 11%, sessions over times up 18. Now, how did we do this? When we're looking at the structure and we're looking at how the algorithm is going to work, we have to obviously look at creative. Now, Google Ads is going to be a part of this. The only issue that I have with Google Ads for the most part is that it becomes it looks very good, even though we don't really do much with that channel for the short term. So what I mean by that is through all of my changes at the top line in Meta only, we have a 12% increase in costs and a 15% increase in new customer purchases. Now, I have not done anything inside of Google since we launched the new Meta campaigns. This is 100% just kind of like holding tight. I do this for a reason. When we talk about creative, yes, creative is a very important metric or a very important thing to review, watch, consider, etc. The the creative is going to actually drive all of your channels. Even TikTok that doesn't have the same creative is going to remarket the people from Meta with different creative. So you have to think about it like, okay, if we're going to be using this creative in this channel, where else is it going to affect? And do I need to make any other changes on any other channels, or will it have a good effect overall without me having to force it? So
Quick point.
the reason why I
Quick
like to do it that way is that for that reason. Go ahead.
quick point on that. This isn't in every scenario. It's just in the scenarios that we have seen be most common. Meta is the driver of new customers if the creative is decent or good versus that of Google.
Right. Yeah.
And then
So
you
Meta
test that with
Creative.
backend metrics.
Yeah, most of the time your Meta Creative is driving the most amount of new visits. So we're thinking about creative. We have to take a step back and think about like, well, who is seeing the creative and why, and what are those people doing after that? It's not just isolated to Meta or isolated to Google. It's you have to think about it as like these are people that are in your on your site right now. Where they come from, we don't know. They're on our site though. What was the last thing that they did? Well, they did come from the site from Meta last. That was the last thing that they did, but I don't know what the first thing they did. They could come from Google. Okay, well, whatever. If we're looking at the this date range here in terms of the Yellow Leaf Hammock Company, and when we're looking at here, we already know, and then we looked at this last week that by changing Meta's structure around, sorry, this is the uh yeah, 6 of the 23rd. By changing meta structure around here, this is the full before and after. We were able to save basically 30% of our cost and increase our media efficiency ratio by 41%. Google, though, changed 5% less spend, 22% more revenue, and we did make a change in Google. Did that with 56% less new visits. So why are we kind of talking about this? Well, it was because 2 weeks in after launching just new creative on Meta. That's the only thing. And we're talking about the creative as such a importance because we only changed that channel for this result between these three channels. So creative, period. Creative was the only thing that we changed for this top line result. So why do we talk about that? Well, you can see that how much creative has with Google. Google's going to be massively changed by uploading the creative. Now, the reason why that's most important or most often most important is if you go into the back end of a site and you say, okay, well, what's my traffic? So I have 7,600 people from Facebook. I have 41,000 people from direct. I have 4,600 people from Instagram. I have 763 from Pinterest. I don't get any from YouTube. I got 20. I got 20 from YouTube total. So, when we're looking at the majority of spend, it says, well, if the majority of the traffic that hits my site is coming from a particular network, wouldn't that mean that more of everything across all networks be affected? And the answer is yes, that's true. So that's sort of how we have to look at this here. Let me just try to get logged into the right one. Sorry, I have to log in
Could
twice.
you say that one more time?
Yep, that's what I'm trying to get a visualization for everyone to see, because it helps. Let me do this here. So typically what has the highest amount of traffic, new visits to your site, that is the channel that's most important to your company. And that's sometimes a way that we don't necessarily think about things, and what I'm going to try to go and show you all next. Let's look only here. Okay. You got 82,000 total visits. That's everybody that's new. Which one of these do you think had the most effect on that?
I mean, the 65,000 looks pretty crazy from a ratio perspective.
Nah, that's only got a 1.46 ROAS. There's something else out there, Caden. You're wrong. So it can't be the 65,000. Do you think it's a 6? The 6,000 of the 82, that's what's doing everything?
So, it's got to be that.
Right. What's sad is we can joke about how ridiculous that is. Like, ha, 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 of course. But we don't necessarily think about that when we're looking this view. You're not hyper-focusing over here.
I do want...
this is creative. There you go.
I do want to point out, though, like kind of devil's advocate on this, is that Google is higher intent. So there is a potential higher ratio if those are all new. Let's just assume that they're all new and there's no overlap. Potentially, out of the 6,000, more can have higher demand than the 65,000. But yeah, that wouldn't affect top line nearly as much.
I could challenge you there, actually, too. This is what's kind of cool. This is what took me a little while to think about. And so tell me if you come to the same conclusion. I'm just curious now. This right here, you have your new visits and visits. You have 723 and 4,000, but this one only took 6,300. This one took 65,000. So 10 times the amount of traffic for not 10 times the amount of result. Otherwise, that'd be 7,200, not 4,000. So now that we know that there's obviously a discrepancy there, could it be that out of the 6,300 new and 9,300 all, could there be 723 that's maybe more like 623 and 100 here and here?
Potentially, based on the ratio that, yeah.
I mean, could it be possible that the returning visits that are just coming back and Google the brand name might be more valuable than the high intent new visits?
Probably.
It could be.
I mean, that is the whole point of Google in a sense.
Right. And now, is it possible that the 86,000 here, do you think that a lot of them are the 96,000, or do we think that's more of the 65,000?
I mean, 65,000 versus 6,000 is a huge ratio. So I would assume that just a percentage of that, meaning it could be like 5% of that, would extremely impact Google. The whole point of what I'm saying regarding, John's point is that, yes, there are a lot of times where Google will work better or can work better at capturing demand. However, it's going to hit a wall a lot faster, and the rate of traffic that you're going to be paying for is going to be a lot higher. So if, for example, I'm paying, $1 a click versus 10 cents a click, Meta versus Google, obviously Meta's going to have a lot higher scaling wall or a lot higher capability than Google will have. So really the debate comes down to, okay, if we're looking at metrics like John was just showing, new versus return customers, or new versus return visits, we'll see that there's, for sure a situation where obviously in this scenario, Meta has way, way more new visits than Google, and even a small percentage of the new visits can potentially cross over. But I would say, and I would argue, that Google's impact, meaning that if you start scaling Google first on a demand perspective versus Meta, you can capture demand faster than you can generate leads or generate conversions on Meta without testing creative. But when you get to the point to where you're saying, okay, I've capped out on the demand capture for Google, you're kind of at the scenario now where okay, I need, what else can I do to scale, right? And really the levers are not as strong on Meta or on Google as they're on Meta, right? You can change the entire messaging, the entire pain point, the entire audience on Meta and pay less, whereas on Google, you're more so stuck to the keywords and a finite sort of set of people each day based on the ebb and flow of the demand. You're not really generating that demand.
Kind of getting back to the mathematics of the whole thing of what we're looking at is, I look at it here as, we know that 86,000 for sure, 65,000, but most likely 86,000 people visited your website out of 126 by seeing some sort of creative. And the creative that they visited was the ones that had good hook and hold, or one that had good hook rates and click-through rates and engagement that brought them to the site that is in turn this 126,000. So when we're looking at this by saying, hey, 2/3 of all the people, basically 80 out of 120, 2/3 of all the people on my site have seen a particular creative. 2/3. Would you say that if 2/3 of all of your website traffic that has seen particular creative, is there any other channels that would be going after those people?
Well, heck
Yes.
yeah.
Like, yeah. And so when we're talking about why is it like the John Google Ads guy kind of talking about meta creative all the time? And that's the reasoning is your Google Ads performance is also going to be heavily dictated by meta creative. And so when we're looking at this case study here and we said, hey, if I can chop off, 10% of the spend, but I can swap between much better creative. That was the thing that we noticed was a big change in our performance here is that the top line increase was massive just by shutting off the performance, shutting off the ads that have really poor performance, like really low hook rate, really low click through rate. The hold rate is low. I mean, basically all we're doing is trying to push more video. So by following the SOP in this campaign here, by doing the hook and hold rate, by focusing on 2/3 video, by focusing on everything that we've been kind of teaching, the result was actually fairly interesting. These here were created on the 9th. And that's what we're looking at here is the 9th through the 23rd. We had 659. So if we do 659, the time period before that, if we look at the 9th through the 23rd compared to the previous period, that's going to be the 25th through the 8th. And so the 25th through the 8th, if we look at 225, 125 to 28. Right? 25.8. Yep. We had 598. So 598 up to 659. So 659 minus 598, we add 61. Google, the cost since the 9th is 744. In Meta, the cost since the 9th is down 5,800. So we saved basically $5,000 and got 61 more new customers. The reason why we talk about the creative being such an important aspect of essentially all of what we're looking at is because that creative in Meta has helped Meta spend less. It helped Google spend more. It helped Google convert more. It helped us get more new customers. It helped us get more new customers at about $65 each cheaper NCAC. And now Google's working well, Meta's working well. We have new creative, we have new customer growth, we have scale, we have NCAC drop, literally now all signs point to green. Good. Everything
all
is
from creative
good here. All just from Meta's creative. And all I did was I hacked off basically 15% of the spend. No spend here because these actually worked out pretty well. That's why you see the flat spend and actually an increase in purchases. And sometimes I think even new customer purchases 52. No, it only went down to 6 because everything else is being stolen from it. But it's actually after hacking up all the creative, here it says that I actually have 15. Okay, so I lost 9 purchases. How did I gain 60 new customers?
Again, more evidence as to why we don't look at ROAS or just the data inside of the platform, because it's going to confuse you.
So you spent 10% less and then made 5% less CPA? No, I actually increased your new customers by 60. So that's what's crazy is it's much less has to do with about the actual structure and more so about getting spend on the right creative. These other campaigns here haven't spent anything. Yeah. They spent maybe 70, 50, 300. They spent $450 on the 50 grand. This has nothing to do with the new creative. Hey, if you like this video, we have a Skool community where we have a few hundred members and we cover topics, everything from the basics to all the way to the hyper crazy advanced stuff that's coming out next month. So few hundred members there. We go live twice a week, something with an hour-long education about something that is very relevant to the community that week, plus a weekly Q&A where you just get to come and bring us all of your problems and we solve them one at a time.
So I have a link below in the description if you want to join. And then obviously if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we can answer those for you. And we'll see you in there.